What's up, Whisper Nation? Johnny Game Time Hicks here, Big Travis, and we are with Stepmom Lauren today on the Fantasy Whispers. We are talking AFC East, or as some refer to them, the least. I don't know. We'll talk about it in today's show right here on the Fantasy Whispers.
Yes, we're back again.
Hey, let's pump up the volume.
Right here.
What's up, Whisper Nation? It's Monday, July 22nd, and you're listening to episode 68 of the Fantasy Whispers with your hosts, Johnny Game Time Hicks and Big Travy. And I'm Chelsea. If you want to follow the show, you can do so on Twitter at TF Whispers. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at The Fantasy Whispers. And you should definitely visit the website, thefantasywhispers.com. We have articles, latest episodes, rankings, and most importantly, our fully loaded draft kit for the 2019 season. And you can check out our Patreon account where you should subscribe. So head on over and check it out.
That's right, Chelsea. Thank you so much. We have launched our draft kit. It's on the website, thefantasywhispers.com. But that's only the second most exciting news about today's episode. The number one most exciting thing about today's episode, we've got Stepmom Lauren back at Whisper headquarters.
Hi.
It's
Glad. I know it's been too long.
Yeah.
You know, the skies were gray. The temperatures were just terrible. My dinner is bland. You don't call. You don't write. Fine. But I'm back here now. You can't stop me. I'm here now.
Hey, I think our letters they got returned. I think that's what it was. So.
Yeah, it's in the mail, right?
Yeah, it was in the mail. We wanted to go the old-fashioned route because we wanted to show how much we cared about you, and it must have just wrong address. So
I know
some lucky person out there right now is opening up those letters and really touched.
Who the hell calls themselves Stepmom Lauren? This is weird. Trash.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so we got a great show today, Travis and Stepmom Lauren. This is going to be fun. We'll have some good banter here, talking the major storylines, right, Travis?
Yeah, so these episodes, as we've told you before, Whisper Nation, are a little bit meatier, right? Because what we want to do here is peg each team down to their number one fantasy football storyline going into training camp, which are launched, last week, and will continue to ramp up for all teams heading into the end of July here. And there are some important things that we're going to hit on in each division, and there's probably more, but we wanted to give you guys our own number one take on these things. And so I'm really excited to jump into this. But before we do, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the biggest news and notes we've gotten in a long time, and that's Tyreke Hill will officially not be suspended by the NFL at this time. There is some language in their statement that says, if any, that's right. Stepmom Lauren, not a fan. I can't say that I'm a fan either of this guy off the field or just what he's been as a human being here. And so it's unfortunate that we're going to have to do this, but let's not make any mistake. This guy is a 1 to 2 round target in fantasy. And so I just want we'll start with you, Stepmom Lauren. What's your take on this? Obviously, I don't think he'll be on a ton of your teams, but are you advising your followers, your listeners to draft him? That sums it up. All right.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in the realm of real life and real fantasy, is that a thing? I don't know. I'm making it a thing. In the realm of real life and then fantasy football, unfortunately, these things don't matter when it comes to fantasy production. So, I mean, if you are down to take him, I mean, yeah, he's a stud. You can't get around that. And that just brings up everyone else on the offense. It makes Travis Kelce even better. It makes Patrick Mahomes look even better. I mean, there's really no way around that. Do I, like him as a human? Not really. I don't really think that should have anything to do with your personal drafts. For me, that's a totally different story. But if you want to draft him, you should. Absolutely. Also, still keep an eye on the news, because in that press conference, they did say they will reevaluate if criminal charges come to pass. They're working with the police. They didn't want to get in anyone's way. So it was almost sounded like it was a little bit kind of staccatoed and not super duper in depth. Yeah. So I think they might be waiting for the police to do their work. I don't know. Keep an eye on it. But if he's cleared to go, hard to get around that. Really hard
Yeah.
to get around that he's a beast.
Well,
I don't like it, but
the crazy thing, right, is that my concern isn't necessarily like what is his draft value. I think that's gonna equal itself out. He will be a second round pick, maybe a borderline first round in some cases. But my concern is more so, yeah, it's shut down for now, but we've seen cases not even be open, a la it from the same team, the Kareem Hunt. And although that took, video evidence, if there is actual audio evidence, even more so than what we've already heard, the Chiefs are not afraid to just cut a player mid-season. And that's more so where my concern comes in with
Exactly.
Tyreke Hill. Yes, absolutely right. Right now, is he a great value? Could he definitely help you win a championship this year? Yes. But unfortunately, week to week, you're going to be walking on eggshells, constantly checking Twitter, constantly checking your news feeds, saying, did any news about Tyreke Hill come out? Because if it does, it's probably the same scenario where Kansas City sat down with Tyreke Hill and was like, listen, tell us the truth. If we find out it's not the truth, then we're done. We're just cutting you. And they have now the insurance with Mecole Hardman to be like, yo, we've pretty much drafted your next, your backup, a guy that's very similar to you, and we have no problem.
Yeah, you're mini-me.
Yeah, no problem just cutting you and going with him. So that's more so where my concern with drafting Tyreke Hill comes from. But if you get him and he does play a full season, you are getting a very solid wide receiver with tremendous upside, lightning fast. I mean, we saw it last year. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the NFL protected themselves the best they could in this scenario. Like, honestly, I don't see how they didn't suspend the guy. You've suspended players for a lot less. And even if you don't think that he did do anything to his son, he put his son in a position where he could be in a home that he got his arm broken in. So I just there's some endangerment things there that I just don't understand how they couldn't have suspended him, but they did do that thing, as Stepmom Lauren was alluding to, where they kind of left the door open for themselves and protected themselves a little bit, that if something else further came along, they'd be able to swipe down really fast and go ahead and suspend him. So obviously Johnny talks about it. That risk is there. It's hovering over him, kind of like Ezekiel Elliott, who's had multiple run-ins now too. And you're going to draft these studs, but in the back of your mind, you got to remember, like, this isn't the first time they've had this dance with the NFL.
Right.
So anyways, let's get on from the negative stuff and maybe talk a little more positively as far as fantasy football is concerned. Let's jump into the AFC East, guys, guy and gal, and let's talk the New England Patriots. Johnny, we want to hear from you first. What is your biggest storyline heading into training camp for the New England Patriots?
So, Travis, for me, my biggest storyline that I'm really going to be watching for in the preseason for the New England Patriots is the health of Tom Brady. And is Father Time finally going to catch up to Tom Brady? It seems like he's been eluding it now for a while, but as we all know, Father Time eventually will catch up to you. And it's kind of crazy because this has been kind of like a slow sinking ship over the last couple of years. And every year we're like, is this a year? Is this a year? And Tom Brady just keeps kind of producing. But last year was the first year that we kind of saw that really starting to dip. And it went a little bit unnoticed, right? Because we were all still impressed with the majority of what he was doing and what New England was doing. And I think that's where it kind of benefits him. He has a coach in Bill Belichick that might have a sense of that. So they started to change up the game plan a little bit. But Tom Brady finished as the QB 12 last season. But if you break that down from weeks 8 to 16, we saw Brady finish as a top 12 quarterback only one time, and that was in week 14. And then if you look at all the rest of his finishes, his best finish other than that week 14 was QB 16. So the production went way down. The drop-off went way down at the end of last season. So I want to know, what does this mean? Are they going to, we're already questioning what kind of pass catchers are going to be around Tom Brady other than Julian Edelman and maybe James White. but are they going to be, running the ball more? Are we going to see, is this going to be, they brought in another running back in Damian Harris for this fact because they want to run the ball a lot more. It'll be interesting, and that's what I kind of want to watch in preseason, see what their game plans are for the preseason and see how Tom Brady is looking.
Yeah, I think, John, you make a great point there when you talk about how they're tailoring this offense towards the age of Tom Brady, right? They're basically making this thing so they can make him last as long as possible. I mean, they're putting as much saran wrap on that old man as they can to try and make him, come through for them. You look at they've been top 3 in rushing attempts as a team in 2 of the last 3 years. And in those 2 years, they've averaged 30 carries a game as a team. So there's plenty of work. And I think this just really runs right into Stepmom Lauren's, big storyline for this is like Sony Michel, this annoying backfield we have here. What do you got there for us, Stepmom Lauren?
Yeah, that's a good point. I have always looked at the Patriots as such an annoying backfield. Yeah. And then when I really kind of dug into it, it's like, is it really that annoying though? Because I mean, we can't ignore Sony Michel's health in this situation, and we never want to wish injury on anybody. It's awful. But like since I think it was 2011, I tracked down all of his injuries, and they're pretty insane. So 2011 torn ACL, 2014 broken shoulder blade, 2014 ankle injury, 2016 fractured forearm, 2017 ankle sprain. 2017 in December, knee strain, then knee strain, then knee strain. Now his knee was scoped. I mean, wow. Speaking of saran wrap, they're putting bubble wrap around Sony Michel now too. So that really speaks volumes to me.
Should we change our team name to Team Bubble Wrap? Is that what we
Team Bubble Wrap?
Yeah, is that what we're saying here?
I like that. Like the big bubbles, not those little small ones. Those are like real satisfying, but those big ones give that big pop that's super awesome. It's like, yes, I lived with Bubble Wrap. Finally, I can die in peace. But I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of running backs like we talked about. There's Sony Michel, obviously, James White. Then there's Damian Harris, like you mentioned, Rex Burkhead, Sexy Rexy. He's still there.
Yeah.
Hercules. And then we've got Brandon Bolden, and then like 5 other people. Like, who knows? It's almost as bad as the San Francisco.
I'm pretty sure they're going to try you out for running back stuff.
Maybe. They better double up that bubble wrap because 35-year-old Stepmom Lauren here, she's got an injury list that's just as long as Sony Michel. Oh, and by the way, one of his injuries.
We would draft you.
One of his. Yes, thank you.
We would take you.
I can be quite scrappy. But this is actually funny. One of his injuries, July 2016, was a fractured forearm from an ATV accident. You guys know how good I am on an ATV. I feel you, Sony. Yeah. I feel you, Sony.
You're going to draft him just so you guys can go ATV in together.
I know. I'd be like, let's go. Oh, geez. But so when you look at this backfield, if you want to take a Patriots, there is one name that really stands out to me, and that's James White. And I can't remember what his ADP is right now. I don't have it in front of me. That'll be homework for y'all listening. Find his ADP for me. Work, peon. You work. You do work while I talk and sound important.
Listen,
anyway.
She's the talent, Johnny. You get to work back there.
Yeah. Like I'm really, Don't listen to them, guys. Anyway, but so last year he had 123 targets. This is in the passing game. 123 targets, 87 receptions, 751 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And his longest was a 42-yard reception. His yards per game were 46.9, and he had a 70.7 catch percentage. I looked at this like, I thought he was a running back. But he is. Yeah. But he
had career highs in touchdowns and receiving touchdowns, that is, rushing touchdowns as well. I mean, this is where we just talked about. This is where this offense is going, and who does Brady have to trust left? Edelman and James White. Like, that's
Edelman is so pretty. He's so pretty.
703. That's where he's according to.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going in the beginning of the 7th round.
And
this is what's so awesome.
It has dropped because earlier in this summer, it was in the late 4th round, and I was like, I just don't see. Sony was going early 4th, or late 3rd, and that was just too expensive to me. But now it's starting to, kind of equal itself out, and I like him at that value. I think he's going with so it's James White, Latavius Murray, and Jordan Howard, and
7th round. This has got to be standard, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah. So let me go
I was gonna say, because PPR.
Yeah,
he's gonna
PPR,
be-
he would probably go up a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you're talking about different draft strategies you want to have moving forward. And if you really want to pick up some stud wide receivers early that generally can outscore some of the lower end wide receivers, you can pick up some great value later on in the draft. And one of those big names, you guys mentioned this on a previous podcast, is Latavius Murray, who I love as well, and James White. And those guys are going to be studs. I love it. But that's the storyline that hits me out of the Patriots is that backfield really as annoying as we all think it is because of Sony Michel's injury history and because James White's stepping up, but then you have a rookie right behind him and not much else.
Yeah, we talk about this backfield, and for me, the pie is so large as far as rushing attempts that strategies coming into this season, I'm telling a lot of Whisper Nation, like draft one of those New England running backs. I don't care who it is. Get a piece of that backfield, because if you have a piece of that backfield and you get the right piece, it's going to be such a good investment. I mean, we've seen LeGarrette Blount on last leg scoring 18 touchdowns for this offense. Sony Michel last year for them in the playoffs averaged 2 touchdowns a game. I mean, at the back half of last year was a really good running back for them. And don't get me wrong, like I think that they drafted Damian Harris as insurance because, Sony Michel scares them. That knee scares them. And why not? I mean, Stepmom Lauren listed all those injuries. It was longer than a CVS receipt. Like it's a lot of
with
injuries.
the coupon at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Half off, knee, half off. No.
Yeah. Buy 2, get 1 knee free.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that being said, I still love Sony Michel's upside. I'm still looking at him like in the 4th round, or 4th and 5th round in drafts. I'm still kind of looking at Sony Michel just purely on touchdown upside alone on this offense. We know that they are not going to be a team that's going to be throwing a ton, and they're going to give those backs the goal line carries. So
yeah, and you bring up a good point, because even if you just get Sony Michel and let's say you miss on James White or you don't want him, you can still play him when he's healthy. Just don't play him when he's hurt, obviously, and you're still going to have good upside, like you mentioned, for sure.
Yeah, and I liked what you talked about there too, as far as going upside down at the top of your drafts, and you're getting the skill. You're getting wide receivers maybe, or maybe you go Kelsey and a wide receiver. You're going to need to scoop up some valuable running backs in the back end, and who better than a guy in James White whose role is secure. He may not be the guy that's going to give you 100 rushing yards every game, but he's going to give you quite a bit of receiving yards and a good shot at scoring a receiving touchdown for them. So moving on here, I don't want to spend too much time on this annoying backfield because we got to really talk about the exciting Buffalo Bills, guys. Best of the business segue right there, baby. We can laugh and joke all we want about this, but Josh Allen was actually a beast and made this team, really interesting and definitely himself over the last half of last year, or back month of last year. From weeks 12 through 17, guys, he had 5 rushing touchdowns, 476 yards, and was the QB1 for that span. I would, my biggest storyline here is, can Josh Allen take a step forward as a passer? Are we going to see something like get a little bit, next level for him? We saw them kind of cut it loose for him. You look at the first 7 games as a starter, he averaged only 22 pass attempts, and he never threw for more than 33 in a single game. In his final 5, though, he averaged 34 attempts. So they were really starting to take the wheels off, or the training wheels off of him here, and let him loose. So, Stepmom Lauren, I know you're interested in, or at least I thought you were interested in Buffalo and talking Josh Allen here before. I think you went back and forth on what you were going to talk about.
I did, because I'm like, because that's the only name that comes out and like jumps out at me. I mean, I guess you could look at Robert Foster. I kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit when I saw this on the show doc. I'm like, why? Can't we just skip them? Sorry, Buffalo fans. It's not a knock on you.
We have some Buffalo.
I know it's not a knock on y'all. You guys are the greatest fans ever for putting up with your team, for real.
I probably shouldn't say this because we want people to listen, but we're going to talk about the Bills and the Redskins in this episode. So it's like, we've really done a lot of spat.
Yeah, that's okay. But we're going to make it fun. So, and like you brought up, one of the things that kind of blew my mind about Josh Allen is he was QB1 weeks 12 through 17, which do we really pay attention to, week 17? It made sense for my
It's
narrative.
good for that.
So I
was going to say
sticking it in there. Yeah. And, they look, especially with quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, you're looking at these quarterbacks that can rush. And yeah, he doesn't really have like weapons that he can throw to. So the poor man is just like, I'm either going to like get steamrolled and die, or I'm going to have to throw it 50 yards down the field and hope that one of my teammates catches it and I don't get intercepted, or, like I said, die from the defense coming right at his poor face.
Yeah.
So another interesting thing about Josh Allen too, which is bringing back to your point, can he get better? I think he can. He's going to be in another year. They brought in John Brown. He is a deep field threat. That's what Josh Allen likes to do. But what scares me is with his rushing, yes, he was known for his legs, and that's where a lot of his fantasy points came from. But let me see if I can actually find it. I think he had like 123 of his rushing plays were designed, and then 508 of them were scrambled. Like, that scares me. So,
Yeah.
And then going into next year, his offensive line by Pro Football Focus is still only ranked 29. So he's going to have to scramble again. So you could look at the pro on that, said he did pretty good when he had to scramble. You could look at the con and say, oh my God, he's still going to have to scramble. Like, he's not going to get the protection he needs to throw accurate passes down the field to get his passer rating up and get fantasy production that way. And his numbers, oh God, yeah, 29th worst O-line. I just saw that in my notes and it made me throw up in my mouth again a little bit. Like, oh God. But and here's the thing. He has scored a touchdown either by rushing or by passing in 9 out of the 12 games that he played. So he finds a way to get it done. I don't know how. It's just beyond me. But here are some other interesting numbers for Josh Allen, too, that kind of surprised me. 27 of his passes were dropped. Very interesting thing to keep in mind. If he has better weapons around him that have better hands and don't slather them in butter or Crisco before the game, that could go up. That's 6.3% of his passes that were dropped. Let's see. He had 60.4% of his passes were true completions. 63.6 were play action completions. That's nice. 44.4% red zone completions, also not bad. And he had 26.2% deep ball completion. So that's not awesome, but it's not terrible either. So it's there. It's there. Can they put it together in 2019? I'm not sure. Would I draft Josh Allen? I don't think so. Unless I had a really deep bench and I didn't want to let him just sit on the wire, then I might take a stab at him, but also have my starting quarterbacks on the off chance that he does put it together. Or you stream him because he can be an absolute beast as a streamable quarterback option. Not to be ignored, but he's not going to be my QB1.
I mean, he's one of my favorite, like, if you're doing a 2-quarterback league, he's one of my favorite guys to target.
Mine too. Yeah, a super flex or a 2-quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, you just, like, you have that unlimited upside with his rushing ability. I have a problem thinking that he's going to continue to average 11 yards per scramble like he did last year. I mean, that was just an insane amount of yards per scramble. And so there's going to be regression there, but can he compensate that regression by go ahead and like throwing more and consistently and getting that as part of his game? That's the big question here. And Johnny, I know you're going to talk a little bit about those weapons that he wants to throw to as your biggest storyline coming out of Buffalo. So do you see something or enough there to make, you know, Josh Allen jump from a non-draftable guy for me and Stepmom Lauren to maybe a guy you're looking at late in your drafts?
Yeah, I actually do like Josh Allen, and if I came out of the draft with Josh Allen, you know, of course, I'm not going to be super excited. There's a couple guys that I'd rather have, Lamar Jackson, you know, Mitch Trubisky. I like those guys a little bit more, but I would feel confident in Josh Allen because he has the rushing ability, and then you look at those pieces that they brought in, right? They brought in John Brown, who is known. He's been a very good wide receiver in this league. He's been a one of the top fantasy options before as well with that speed. So he's going to be taking all those deep routes. So a lot of those, you know, his completion percentage over his career. Let me just look this up right now. I'm just on a whim here. Hang with.
Don't forget Cole Beasley.
Right. So yeah, they also brought in Cole Beasley. So John Brown is I've got him slated for 43% completion percentage, which is about par for him. And then, yeah, so you get Cole Beasley in there who, he wants to prove himself. That's why he went to Buffalo.
There's room for Brown's numbers to go up too because of how good Allen is as a deep ball thrower too.
Correct.
Yes. That's why I like John Brown a lot too. Yes,
right.
Agreed.
Agree with that. And then my big, more so I know that those are the two positions that he was definitely going to improve in, right? The one thing I want to see in training camp is the battle for this third wide receiver position. A lot of people in the fantasy community are on Robert Foster. Like, that's the talk, is everyone's buying Robert Foster. And I just, looking at the data and looking at, the game scripts, I just don't see Robert Foster being that guy. I think John Brown was is going to take over the Robert Foster role. And I think if you look at it, Zay Jones, his stats were a lot better than Robert Foster, and no one is talking about Zay Jones. Nobody. And you know what?
That's because no one's talking about the Bills.
This is true.
Except for us, Whisper Nation. We cover everything.
Exactly. If you look at the last 5 games, which we've been talking about, the last half of the season last year, Robert Foster, he averaged 5 targets a game, 312 total receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and that equated to 17% market share. Zay Jones, on the other hand, he was averaging 8.4 targets a game. He had 269 receiving yards. He had 5 touchdowns, 26% market share. That's a guy that is going super late in drafts in the 13th, 14th, sometimes going undrafted at all. I don't mind taking a stab on. I know it's Buffalo, but there's going to be someone who has to catch the ball here. I do like John Brown as well. He's going super late in drafts, but you need John Brown isn't going to go deep every single time, and you need a guy that's going to work that middle area of the field. And Zay Jones, he's not that far removed from being one of the top wide receivers taken. When he was brought in, everyone was talking about him. They loved his talent. He was raw, but they loved the talent. And I think he's finally starting to get that click. I mean, let's be real here. Let's real talk real quick. The guy had Calvin Benjamin as his guy he was learning from, who came out to Josh Allen and said, when Josh Allen asked him if he wanted to run some routes before a game, and Calvin Benjamin straight up said, "No, dude, I'm good." That was the guy that was in front of him. So it's gonna take a little bit longer to get into where to be, all these things. It's that I think that Zay Jones is an interesting guy. I know we're talking about Buffalo here, but they're going to score some points, and someone's got to have those. And with the 5 touchdowns at the end of last season, you see that relationship there. John Brown certainly will catch touchdown passes, but those will be deeper ones. And so I'm interested to see what this battle is like in training camp.
I was actually I was moving around here for a second. Those of you who are watching this, you're going to be like, what is she doing? That's annoying. But what I was trying to do is check out Zay Jones's ADP, and I'm on Fantasy Football Calculator right now under half PPR, and he's not even getting drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The extreme value as opposed to trying to put all your eggs in the Robert Foster basket, who I'm sure is even a value right now as we're talking to in ADP wise. But John Brown's interesting. I think we've got something there as long as we can see. That's something I'll be watching in training camp and in preseason is Josh Allen's ability to throw in this offense and how much he's going to play with that first team and what he can do in that respect. But moving on. He also
said he's working on his accuracy in the offseason, just PS.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you do that?
Where they're like, I'm working on throwing. Of course you are.
Lamar Jackson's worse. He's like, I can't throw the ball. What?
I want to, but honestly, what do you practice for that? Do you put a target? They have is it the net with the hole? And then they're like, all right.
Maybe it's a big trash can that's all the way down. Or I was just going to insult the Bills again, and I can't do that.
Well, actually, Aaron Rodgers did an interview with Chris Sims that I just watched the other day. And what Rodgers said was a lot of it has to do with your hitch, right? If you're hitching and you're and you see an out route and you move those hips he's like, all that timing is how you get more accurate.
He should practice the samba then. Move them hips.
Yeah, there we go. A little Zumba. Anyways, moving on to probably the birthplace of Zumba, Miami. The Miami Dolphins.
It's a good thing.
Are the next
Yeah. Go ahead.
dude? Just soft toss me those segues,
I
baby.
know.
I know, man.
So Miami Dolphins here. For me, I think Johnny and I are a little bit in the same realm here as far as our storyline here. But I'm going to actually kick it off to Stepmom Lauren first, because if you don't know anything about Stepmom Lauren, you would probably know that she's going to hang her flag or plant her flag on this player right here, and she probably couldn't wait to get talking
I love this.
about this section of the show.
I scrolled through the entire show doc and I was like, where is Miami? Putting my name on it. I love Kenyan Drake. I can't help it. And now that I talk about him all the time, he's probably going to suck just out of like karma. I haven't done
Just
anything
'cause
wrong.
that's
So
what
maybe if I
fantasy
just keep being a
football
nice
does.
person. Yeah, the fantasy football god's going to be like, nope, that was one time too many talking about Kenyan Drake.
Yeah.
Guess what? He gone. Like, dang it. But if you haven't figured this out yet, I love Kenyan Drake. I love him because Adam Gase is gone. He's with the
Finally.
Jets. Bye-bye. And he's finally going to have the opportunity to get it done, which I love, because Brian Flores, I don't think he knows what an offense actually is, because he's so defensive minded. He was a scout, all that. I have it in an article. And anywho, so this is really going to be his probably first and last chance to prove, hey, I can be the bell cow running back. We're going to obviously have to keep an eye on his durability, which we haven't really seen if he's capable of being durable as a bell cow. So that's kind of exciting. So clearly for PPR, no matter what, he is going to be a stud in PPR because he is that primary pass catcher role. But we want to know, is he going to be involved in the, from line of scrimmage and the run game, not necessarily super involved in the passing game, because last year he was their second leading receiver on the entire team. So this is what I really love about him. You compare him to Jay Ajayi. Do I have those notes in here? I can't remember if I do. Anyway, but I have them, whatever. But when he was going up against Frank Gore last year, he had 120 rush attempts, 535 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, Frank Gore was really the big name here. And I really have to go back and double check these numbers because I can't believe what I'm reading from Pro Football Reference. But Frank Gore had 165 attempts. Granted, that's more. About 200 yards more. Well, just about 200, 722 yards, but he didn't have a rushing touchdown. Kenyan Drake did. And he also had passing touchdown. So it's like, it's there. It's right there.
Yeah.
Please make this happen. I love Kenyan Drake so much, and you can get him. I believe he's going in the 5th round now. Did it ADP rise?
No.
You can still get some. It's still the same.
Yeah, it's still roughly the same. And I'm with
Do you like how I did that? I like covered my basis. I was like, did it rise?
Yeah.
No, it's the same, right? Because I know what I'm talking.
Well,
But I love that. I love it. I love his value.
I'm with you. I'm willing to go down on this ship with you because everything
Let's go.
everything you stated before.
We can be the orchestra on the Titanic.
Exactly.
Do it.
Women and children only, sir.
Yeah. Well, not.
Oh, so then I'm good. See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the woman, and then John's the child. So
Oh, come on, honey.
What?
I need your pinky.
I'm just saying that Drake is going to finally have an opportunity, and this is one of my favorite points about Kenyan Drake versus, because I know everyone is really high on the fact that Kenyan Drake has never been the guy, that they have other backs that they brought in, and Kalen Ballage. But Kalen Ballage, I've watched this guy in my own backyard. I know who he is, and I know these scouts know who he is even more so than I do. And he is a gadget guy. He is not a guy who you can rely on to be a heavy, running back, heavy workhorse running back. Kenyan Drake is built like that, and if you give him the opportunity, from everything we've seen, if you put this guy together, all of his years that he is consistently over 5 yards carry. He would be on pace for over 1,000 yards. And
has great elusive stats. I mean,
exactly.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
the thing about Ballage is terrible at. He is the exact opposite of Kenyan Drake at elusiveness. He literally goes down on first contact 90% of the time. And so for me, I am hugely on the Kenyan Drake bandwagon with you, so much so that Travis even hates when I bring up his name. Even the sound of me saying, even if I refer to a Drake song, he thinks I'm immediately referring to Kenyan Drake, and he's like, I don't want to be a part of this conversation.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Another thing too I like about Brian Flores is he's witnessed firsthand what Kenyan Drake has done to New England, like kind of almost single-handedly. I love that. So he knows what kind of explosive player Kenyan Drake can be. And you may continue, Travis.
Yeah, well, Drake just profiles for me as a guy that has pretty good upside, especially he's very safe even on a Miami team that probably won't run a ton of plays and probably won't be very good. He's relatively safe because of his ability to, I mean, I'm just looking
Let's
at
be honest.
I'm just looking at the roster.
It's like one uptick better than the Bills and the Reds.
Yeah, like,
don't you diss Ryan Fitzmagic that way.
Hey, you know I love Fitzpatrick, but he'll be a G for a month and then he'll just throw a bunch of picks. So no, I think that Drake
but Josh Rosen, man, come on.
Oh, man. That'd be the best thing.
So I got to bring this up because you know what, Josh Rosen. I was thinking about this morning, right, as I was going through our notes and making sure I had.
Yeah, Johnny gets up early in the morning, starts thinking about Josh Rosen.
Exactly.
It's true love.
Yeah. So and Travis can attest to this. When rumors first came out that the Cardinals were linked to Kyler Murray, I was absolutely against it. I was like, we need to give Josh Rosen more time. Like he didn't have any opportunities last year. Like we were bad, blah, blah, blah. List goes on and on, right? I feel like now that I'm thinking clear, right? Now we got Kyler Murray in here. I'm super excited. And now that we have this in here, I feel like it's like a relationship where when you're in it, it's like a bad relationship, right? But you know, when your friends try to talk to you about it, you get defensive, you get ugly. You're like, no, this person's amazing. What are you talking about? And then you finally just do it. You pull the trigger. You break up. You get into a new relationship, and then you start realizing all the bad. Like you were like, wow, this is really.
Why didn't I see that before? The red flags are everywhere.
Exactly.
Also known as challenge flags. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. And that's
Thought
how I
I'd
feel
tie that
about
all
Josh
together.
Rosen. That's how I feel about Josh Rosen going to the Miami Dolphins. Of course, I want him to do well, just like any person in a past relationship would want their past significant other to do well. I do want him to do well, but I just Fitzmagic. I think that it stirs him. It creates that competition, and I think that was what the difference was last year. Was he really felt like he had the chance to compete with Jameis Winston, and that's why we saw him doing so well. Whenever we've seen him do really, really well, it's when he had a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. And I mean, you saw it with the first year with the Jets because they were saying he was a one season starter, blah blah blah, and he came out and he really killed it. And then guess what? They gave him a contract. He kind of eased up. He didn't play so well. You see what he did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then again here in Miami, they were like, "Hey, you're going to be the guy," and then they trade for Josh Rosen, and then he's got that chip again. And what have we heard out of training camp or mini camp? That he's being phenomenal. He's definitely beating out Josh Rosen, and so that's big for me. Like low key, I'm not going to lie. I secretly kind of like the Miami Dolphins offense this year. I'm like looking at these guys and I'm like, there could be some good fantasy gems here. Starting with Kenyan Drake, Albert Wilson. I'm a huge fan of Albert Wilson.
Yes, I was just gonna say the Burt alert. He's sneaky as well.
Right, and Parker. He's like the preseason, hype train master. You've got that going for you. But dare I say he has the best quarterback he's ever had in his career. So maybe, who knows, that could be a guy.
Damn, dude. Shots fired at my boy Jay Cutler, dude.
Yeah, shots.
Smoking Jay Cutler.
Yeah, smoking Jay Cuddy. So I just like the pieces, and I have a feeling that Kenny Stills is there as well. I have a feeling that there's going to be a nice piece out of here other than I'm already shooing in Kenyan Drake as going to be a nice piece. I think that there's going to be a nice piece in this receiving core. I'm not exactly 100% sure who it is. My bet is on Albert Wilson. But there's just like Travis was talking about New England's running back, like take a stab at one of them because one of them's going to be good if you have that guy. That's how I feel about it.
And you can get them late.
Exactly.
You can get them late. It's not like these guys have premium draft capital.
Yes.
I mean, you can literally like go through your kitchen trash and probably find one.
Exactly.
I
mean, that's exactly
the trash can. You can go get the trash can from the Buffalo Bills and then get.
And then you light that trash on fire and do a flying elbow into the trash can.
And then whichever trash pops out with the name, get that guy.
Exactly.
No, I think you make a great
excellent
point.
Draft strategy.
we've seen
lighting things on fire and pile driving trash cans.
Yeah, this show has gone off the rails like the Buffalo Bills. Tailgating.
Oh man, harsh.
No, Stepmom Lauren, we just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell Whisper Nation where they can find you, what you've been working on, what's going on in your world.
Oh man, well, Travis Day. I wake up and praise the Lord.
Not that much.
I'm kidding. So you guys can all find me at Stepmom Lauren. So I'm facebook.com/Stepmom Lauren. I'm on Twitter at Stepmom Lauren, Instagram at Stepmom Lauren. I also just launched my website. So stepmomlauren.com is live. You guys can find all of my work there. I am a writer for the Fantasy Footballers. I have a new article coming out at the end of the month. It's going to be about Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs.
Ooh, that's
maybe we'll get some insight on that.
Yeah,
I just came out with a piece about D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole, and everyone else who's on the Jacks, which I felt like Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole. It was crazy. But yeah, and I'll be around. I'm doing this and that. You can probably find me at a couple other podcasts too. Say hi, come tweet me.
Well, we love having you on here. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. I've missed you guys. It's been forever.
We'll keep it up. I mean, we were in the lab. We were in a dark place crunching numbers there for a long time. But we're back now, and we love to have you back on the show. Whisper Nation, we love you. That's Johnny Game Time Hicks. I'm Big Travy. And for Stepmom Lauren, we are out of here. Peace.
Please like and subscribe to the show.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.